Eren Jäger. There are those who call you a demon that will lead us to destruction, and others consider you a savior who will bring hope to the human race. This scene is from chapter 19 of the manga. It's really interesting to see it so early on. In short, a military tribunal had been put together in order to pass judgment on what to do with Eren. These two perspectives representing both sides of the argument. He could destroy the humans within the walls, but he could also be their key to finally get outside. Even this argument that Niall throws in a bit later, in order to further the military police's point, astonishingly, when these two were 9 years old, they stabbed 3 adult robbers to death. Their actions are understandable, it was legitimate self-defense, yet it raises doubts as to Eren's basic humanity. Even this scene is repeatedly referenced in the later course of the manga in order to contextualize Eren's actions. The course that Attack on Titan took in its final part split not only the characters within the story but also the readers, basically into these two camps. One group thinking that what Eren is doing is correct and what must be done. Others saying that what Eren is doing can under no circumstances ever be justified. Some people were even left so disturbed by what's happening, or so displeased because it's not what they wanted, that they don't like the story anymore. But anyways, the big question is actually not what he is doing, but why he is doing it, and for that we need to take a closer look at his character development. Attack on Titan is a story filled with twists and turns, a story about man-eating giants and the primal fear that they incite in us humans. A story about the cruelty of this world and on how to face it. But what it has also always been is Eren's story. We watch him go from a gutsy but ignorant child to then becoming a promising soldier and then having to take on the role of humanity's only hope in a war they did not yet understand. And the story's themes and narratives are also explored through Eren. Ever since he was a child, there were two key points in his philosophy. The first one being in regards to the life within the walls. He thinks it's foolish to be content with living caged inside these walls and compares these people to cattle, livestock, or caged birds. And the second one being in regards to the already mentioned scene where Eren kills the robbers that had kidnapped Mikasa. He compares them to beasts, savages, and does not see any value in their life. This is also his philosophy in regards to the Titans. I will exterminate them. I will kill them all. And then there's two more examples. Both of them would go on to play a bigger role in the later parts of Attack on Titan and be fully fleshed out. But the first one is when Grisha asks Eren why he wants to join the Scouting Legion. And Eren says if there's no one to carry on, everyone who died up to now will have died in vain. And the second one is when Armin asks Eren why he wants to explore the outside world, and Eren says, "It's because I was born into this world." Both of these concepts are things neither we nor child Eren have any business understanding yet, and that we would only get a feel for in the later parts of the story. And now Eren may be very strong-minded in his convictions, but him being humanity's only hope, he gets into situations over and over again where he has to make a decision on how to deal with the enemy's attacks. And each time he is endangered, many comrades sacrifice their lives, believing that through saving Eren, they can save humanity. And Eren would increasingly struggle with the weight of his comrades' lives sacrificed in his name, and the weight of the expectations placed on him by others and himself, until he eventually reaches his breaking point, when he is again kidnapped and finds himself in the underground chapel of the Rice family. Historia and Rodrais make Eren go through Grisha's memories that dwelled within him, and when Eren sees how his Titan powers were acquired, how Grisha forcefully took it from the royal family, how he killed even the children, crushing them like bugs, and when Eren learns of the founding Titan's true power, that if Grisha had left it in the royal family's hands, it could have been used to rid mankind of the Titan plague. When Eren learns of all this, he is left broken. Not only is he now worthless according to his own philosophy, one of those savage beasts, but also him continuing living is against mankind's interests. If instead of him, a royal had the founding Titan's powers, it could be used to save everyone. And if that had been the case all along, none of these sacrifices made in his name that are weighing him down would have had to happen. This is truly the lowest we ever see Eren. He is begging Historia to end him and telling her that his life was not necessary. Thankfully, of all people, it is Historia who is supposed to take over Eren's Titan powers. In his words, she is able to see herself and remember her dear friend Ymir and the lesson she taught her. This allows her to see through her father's deception and ask herself, if the founding Titan in the hands of a royal has the ability to free mankind of the Titans, why has it not happened in over 100 years? We learn that with inheriting the founding Titan, royals also get possessed by the first King Fritz's ideals, a king that wished for a world where mankind is dominated by Titans. Historia is able to break free from her family's curse that was going to be passed down to her by her father, and goes on to free Eren. Now, the founding Titan being better left in the royals' hands might have been wrong, but Eren still is struggling with the weight of expectations placed on him, and he still has not gained a new conviction. But this allows him to keep moving forward. And eventually, when the scouts go to question Keith Shadis, the bystander that Eren had seen in Grisha's memories, he reveals to Eren what his mother thought of these expectations. He doesn't need to become great. Why would he have to be better than everyone else? Just look at him. Don't you see how cute he is? He is already great, because he was born into this world. This would go on to become Eren's new life philosophy, replacing his thought of the worthlessness of criminals' lives. He has now discovered value in all life. And with this newfound conviction, Eren is able to play a key role in the retake of Val Maria, the mission where Paradis lost its devil, but also where we discovered the true hero of the story. This allows them to finally enter the basement and learn the truth of this world, and what a reveal it was. They can turn into Titans because they are part of a race called Eldians, the descendants of Ymir, who is said to have once upon a time made a deal with the devil. And also there aren't just humans living outside of the walls. An entire world had developed past them. And this world, with the exception of wars, had left the Titan plague a thing of the past. And no one is even thinking of helping them, because they are the island devils, the worst amongst the subjects of Ymir. They are the scapegoat of this world. Eren understood this more so than anyone else. He had not just learned about it, but also lived it within Grisha's memories. He has seen for himself how deep the hatred for Paradis runs, and he is progressively getting out of sync with his friends, unable to uphold his optimistic views of the outside of the walls. And when they reach the ocean, he is completely out of sync, unable to enjoy the beauty and glory of the ocean, only fixated on the enemies that lie on its other side. And this is where Isayama leaves Attack on Titan as we knew it a thing of the past. He goes on to show us what's on the other side of the ocean. In a time skip, he reveals new characters, new perspectives on old characters, and the central dilemma of this world: war. And when we see Eren again, he is a changed man. He is not just looking differently, but he is also acting different, sitting right across Reiner, keeping perfectly calm. And then he goes on to say, "It's true, I did see everything on the other side of the sea as my enemy. Then I came here, I slept under my enemies' roofs and ate the same food as them. And what Eren came to realize, over the sea, inside the walls, we are all the same." He even goes on to forgive Reiner and say that him and Reiner are also the same. It all seems great. This new perspective of Eren would explain his changed demeanor. But then he goes on to finish his sentence by saying, "I just keep moving forward until my enemies are destroyed." And that's it. Eren transforms. He accepts Willy Tybur's declaration of war, eating him, and he commences his attack on Marley, killing countless innocents and also dragging his friends in with him. And it is the bittersweet reunion with his friends where we see the time skip be fully utilized. It turns out this new Eren is just as new to them as he is to us, and we are shown conflicting flashbacks of Eren when he was still thinking about what choice to make, and where he was still acting the way we remember him. But the current Eren is keeping up his reckless actions, maniacally laughing about Sasha's death on the flight to Paradis. When he is in jail in Paradis, he turns into his final form, Man Bun Eren, disrespecting Hanji, threatening her, and then later breaking out of prison with his Warhammer Titan powers. He also seems to be part of the yaegerists, a terrorist group hell-bent on reuniting the Jaeger brothers. All of this leads up to the infamous table talk scene, where Eren not only shatters all hope of the readers that he might be acting this way because he's manipulated by Zeke, saying that he is free, but also where he breaks his two closest friends, Armin and Mikasa, beating up Armin and telling Mikasa that he has always hated her. When Eren said, "I am free," that truly resonated. Eren went from being a slave to the narrative, being attacked, deceived, kidnapped, and at his best only following orders, to now Eren doing the attacking, Eren doing the deceiving, Eren doing the kidnapping, and Eren giving the orders. Man Bun Eren is truly menacing. But not even the table talk scene is enough to make Eren's friends completely distrust him. At first they're hesitant, but when they learn that Zeke's true plan is the euthanization of all Eldians, they conclude that Eren would never go along with such a plan, and that he must still be on their side, acting this way to deceive Zeke. So they decide to support him in Marley's counterattack, helping him reunite with Zeke. And when Eren reaches it, the world of the paths, the coordinate, Zahio, that is also the first thing he confirms, that he would never go along with such a joke of a plan. It actually never was an option. Eren's philosophy of "because I was born into this world" is a philosophy of the value of life, and it directly opposes Zeke's philosophy, who sees no value in life, and thinks that euthanizing all Eldians, letting them die out slowly, is a benevolent and peaceful option. And the next thing we learn is that the Attack Titan actually has the ability to peer into the future, that the holder of the Attack Titan can see memories from future Attack Titan holders. And it turns out it was actually Eren all along who made Grisha kill the royal family. He showed Grisha memories that would be convenient for him in order to convince Grisha of killing the royal family. Grisha even paradoxically begs Zeke to stop Eren, whom he just put into this position of power. And Eren did this because he saw his own future memories within Grisha's past memories. And he knew this had to be done in order to open up this path that can lead to what Eren saw in his future memories. That scenery, as he calls it. But what exactly is Eren's plan? How is he going to deal with the hatred of the rest of the world? Well, he says it himself. I am going to destroy this world. He is going to use all the colossal titan to trample the outside world. He even goes on to broadcast this through the paths to all Eldians in and outside of Paradis. He tells them that he rejects the wish of the world to destroy this island he was born on, and that he will let the Wall Titans trample all Earth outside of it, until all life existing there has been exterminated from this world. And at a later point we even get a bit more insight on how Eren's plan was carried out, how he partnered up with Floch and how he told his story about it. But also we see that actually Eren's motivation has always remained his friends. He is doing all of this to himself and the outside world in order for them to be able to live long and happy lives. And it was exactly this decision that split the community. On one hand, you have the yaegerists, a young uprising group with strong convictions of their own, saying that what Eren is doing is what must be done, that he has become the devil that Paradis needs to survive. On the other, you have the allied forces, or as I like to call them, the reluctant heroes, joining together with old enemies, overcoming their differences, all in order to stop the rumbling, even if they have to face comrades along the way. With both groups thinking that they are right and that the story needs to end with their faction winning, well, the likelihood of either faction winning has varied throughout the final bit of the story. At first it seemed like the reluctant heroes stood no chance in even catching up to Eren, let alone defeating the overwhelming founding titan. But Eren refused to take away their freedom. He also refused to speak to them, leaving them only the option of fighting him. And in this final battle, at this point, Eren has lost. He is dead at the hand of his loving Mikasa. And with chapter 137 having been about Armin, and how he changed the tides of the battle, how he led these allied forces to victory. Chapter 138 being about Mikasa, how she finally separated herself from Eren and is doing what she herself thinks is what must be done. The final chapter, chapter 139, must be about Eren and finally giving us his point of view. And so, while I personally don't think it's very likely for Eren to still be alive after this heartfelt goodbye, it is still all possible. Isayama has a full chapter left, that's 50 pages. We are at his mercy for whatever he wants to do with the story. The only thing we truly know about the final chapter is the final panel that Isayama had revealed back in 2018. Showing a long-haired man holding up a baby, saying, "You're free." So, if he really wanted to, I think Isayama could have Eren still be alive somewhere in Paradis, having maneuvered the founding titan through some Warhammer titan shenanigans, and have him now just make contact with Historia's baby, who is of royal blood, and has also just now inherited Zeke's beast title. And that way he could restart and continue the rumbling, finishing the job. In that sense, the yaegerists too can still win. But if that were the ending, then why did we have this long final battle? Is it just to show that the resolve of a few heroes is futile in the face of this 2,000-year-old cycle of hatred? But even if that was the goal, then what is Attack on Titan's answer to this cycle of hatred? Eren, by destroying the world outside of Paradis, does not remove the cause. Yes, he will have saved his friend and the island, but he will only have narrowed down the problem and delayed it. The conflict is a human potential, and as long as the Titan powers still exist, this cycle of hatred that is so much worse in the world of Attack on Titan will still remain. But maybe this is it, and Eren is now dead, and the Allied forces will win. Perhaps the world who has just now witnessed how terrible this monster is that they have created through the cycle of hatred. Maybe now they are able and ready to sign a peace treaty. But how long would this peace really last? At the end of the day, as long as the Eldian people can turn into Titans, the world will find ways to fear them and hate them. And is this how we conclude Eren? A man with pure intentions, backed into a corner by the cruelty of this world, struggling under the weight of his duties to decide, twisted by 3 generations of Titan Shifter memories, seeing no other way to save his friends than to throw away his humanity, to sacrifice his own freedom and the entire world, to become a greater evil, to fight evil, to become the devil that the world wished upon itself. And what about the lessons of the narrative? Did Eren really learn them all just to end up reverting back to his ignorant child self, who takes the freedom of others when they threaten to take his or of those dear to him? Did he really learn about giving meaning to the sacrifices of the deceased comrades, whom all sacrificed themselves for the betterment of humanity, just to trample it and achieve freedom for Paradis only? Did he really learn about trusting his friends just to end up not letting any of them in on his final plan? Is this the scenery that he foresaw in his future memories? Now, don't get me wrong, this would of course be a strong ending to the story. But I can't help but feel like this would be an end where Eren gave up, where he gave in to the cruelty of this world, where Eren actually lost by losing hope and the will to continue fighting against the cruelty of this world, and decided to just erase it. That is, if this was the only possible way to end the series. What if? What if Eren actually has a bigger plan? What if he was the good guy all along? After all, we learned that Eren isn't doing any of this for himself. He is doing this for his friends. We learned that when he laughed at Sasha's death, it wasn't a laugh of ridicule. He was laughing out of despair, just like how he did when Hannes died in front of him. And also when he hurt Armin and Mikasa, well, it turns out he is doing this all for them. So that was also a lie, something that he did not want to do. And what is definitely also clear is that Eren is not enjoying the rumbling. He even apologized to Ramsey, crying out, and even in his founding Titan while he is doing the rumbling, he is suffering. His child self that is enjoying this is just a coping mechanism. Eren has sacrificed his own freedom, so the rumbling can't be the scenery that he foresaw. So what could this bigger goal be? Well, with all the atrocities that he has committed, and all of them probably having to be necessary, there is only one goal that remains that could justify this, or at least make it understandable. Achieving freedom for the entire world, freeing it of the curse that is Titans. Now, that does sound a bit far-fetched right now, but actually it is even implied. When Eren said that he is going to destroy this world within the world of the paths, he wasn't just saying it at any point. he was directly saying it after we had a Ymir flashback, when King Fritz was ordering all of Ymir's descendants to keep inheriting the Titan power, a lineage of slaves, a kingdom built on the gruesome Titans and the work of his slave Ymir. That is when Eren directly interrupts him and says, "That's it, I will put an end to this world." And he even lets Ymir later choose. He tells her to choose whether to destroy this world or to remain in it. If he was referencing the real world, Ymir isn't even living in it. And these alternatives, this choice, wouldn't make much sense. It is also in contrast to when he was deceiving Floch, when he told Floch, "I am going to end the world." So it is already implied there, and he could achieve this in tandem with his promise to Ymir to free her. This is where the final panel comes into play again. Historia is very likely to name her child after her deceased friend Ymir, and the child could act as a physical body for our Ymir in the world of the paths to be reborn into. Now, how this happens is completely up to Isayama. He could have all the Titan shifters die in this battle so that the child could inherit all the Titan powers and complete Ymir's split personality parts. Or perhaps whoever is in charge of the coordinate can just send Ymir through the paths. Perhaps Eren will have to take her place, denying building any more Titans. Or perhaps to achieve this, the origin of the Titan power, the source of all organic life, must be destroyed. The caterpillar that lives in the founding Titan, Hallucogenia. At least in the last chapter it showed some form of sentience, creating a new bunch of pure Titans, using them as an army. Perhaps this might also be why Eren had to deceive everyone and commit this mass murder in order to corner it. Perhaps by destroying it, the world of the paths will also collapse. So yeah, these are my thoughts about the ending. Unlike the yaegerists, I never believed Eren when he said he would destroy the world. I always believed in him, ever since we have seen him again in Marley, where he showed us his new world perspective. He had abandoned narrow-minded, one-sided viewpoints. He had adopted a holistic view of the world. And with his determination to always keep pushing forward, I think he was always bound to make the correct decision. But the ending is still all in Isayama's hands, and I'm convinced that whatever he decides to do, he will do Eren and the entire story justice. To you, if you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments below and share your thoughts on the ending of Attack on Titan. And never forget to keep moving forward.